Vidette, a small city in Burke County, Georgia, emerged in the early 20th century as a rural crossroads community along State Routes 24 and 305, approximately 14 miles west of Waynesboro. The town was officially incorporated by the Georgia General Assembly in 1908, named after a Dr. Vidette, though little is documented about this namesake. The establishment of the Georgia and Florida Railway, constructed between 1906 and 1911, spurred Vidette's growth, connecting it to larger regional networks and fostering the development of small towns like Vidette, Keeseville, and Goff. By the 1920s, Vidette reached its peak population of around 600, reflecting its role as a hub for the surrounding agricultural region. The town's early infrastructure included essential amenities like a doctor's office, an elementary school, and notably, a high school, which was uncommon for such small communities at the time. Economic and cultural foundations. Vidette's economy was deeply tied to Georgia's agricultural landscape, particularly cotton farming, which dominated the region. The town's residents, including an emerging rural middle class, built a close-knit community centered around institutions like the Vidette United Methodist Church and the Bethel Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church, later Bethel Mennonite Church. These churches served as social and cultural anchors, hosting community events and reflecting the area's conservative, tradition-driven values. The presence of a high school, as noted in local accounts, indicates Vidette's brief period of relative prosperity, supporting education and community cohesion. However, the town's small size and rural setting limited its economic diversity, making it vulnerable to broader regional challenges. Decline due to agricultural and social shifts. Vidette's population began to decline significantly after the 1920s due to multiple factors. The boll weevil, an invasive pest introduced to Georgia in 1915, devastated cotton crops, having yields by 1923 and crippling the local economy. Concurrently, the Great Migration, starting around 1915, saw many African Americans leave the Jim Crow South for better opportunities elsewhere, further reducing the population. By the time the federal censuses of 1920 and 1930 were compared, rural Burke County, including Vidette, showed marked population declines. The closure of the Georgia and Florida Railway's Hepzibah-Midville line in 1966 further isolated Vidette, as rail connectivity had been a key driver of its early growth. By 1980, the population hovered around 100, and the town's mailing address shifted from Louisville to Midville, reflecting its diminishing prominence. 20th century challenges and depopulation. The mid-20th century brought further challenges to Vidette's vitality. The decline of small-town economies across rural Georgia, compounded by the lack of diverse job opportunities, led many younger residents to leave for urban areas. By the 1980s, Vidette's population was around 100, and infrastructure like the Vidette United Methodist Church parsonage had fallen into disrepair, as noted in personal accounts from 1980 to 1982. The dissolution of the Bethel Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church in 2015 and the repurposing of its property for a Mennonite congregation underscored the town's shrinking institutional base. The economic disadvantages of rural areas, as described in local reflections, created a cycle of structural poverty, making recovery difficult. By 2020, Vidette's population was recorded at 103, with estimates slightly higher at 114 by 2023. Modern Vidette and cultural legacy. Today, Vidette remains a quiet, close-knit community with a population of around 103 to 153, depending on the source. Its rural charm and southern hospitality are highlighted in descriptions of its serene, slow-paced lifestyle, with the local church and cemetery remaining central to community identity. The Vidette Cemetery, maintained with care, holds historical significance, as seen in accounts of family burials and community gatherings. While the town lacks major tourist attractions, its history is preserved through oral traditions, local writings, and websites like Vanishing Georgia, which document its fading rural heritage. Efforts to maintain Vidette's legacy, such as through local stories and historical reflections, emphasize its role in Georgia's broader narrative of small-town resilience amid economic and demographic decline. Vidette's story reflects the broader challenges faced by rural southern communities, balancing a proud heritage with the realities of depopulation and economic stagnation.